So, hi everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, or good morning. Welcome in the room and welcome online. We are incredibly excited to be here, and thank you all for taking the time to learn how to build a Copilot with Azure AI Studio or Copilot Studio. In this session, we're going to talk about how we can integrate AI, large language models, in an existing solution to make the experience for the customer and the employee easier and more natural. So my name is Henk Boelman, Cloud Advocate at Microsoft with a focus on the Azure AI platform.
And my name is Laskewitz, and I am also a Senior Cloud Advocate, and I'm focusing on the Power Platform. So we have been doing a lot of sessions lately, and we have been talking about all kinds of AI solutions, all kinds of copilots. And the question that we get all the time is, when do you use what? Because you can go to Azure AI Studio, you can go to Copilot Studio, and there's lots of other solutions as well. So that's what we're gonna try to answer today. But as everything in IT, it always depends, right? With our AI toolchain, we will meet you where you are. So whether that's Microsoft Copilot Studio or Azure AI Studio, or a mix of both, because you can also combine the two, that is really the goal for us. So you can truly build your own way. You can adjust the slider as you want, so you can go fully into Copilot Studio or fully into Azure AI Studio, or maybe mix it up a little bit. But in this session, we will demo both products, and we will try to show you some of the unique capabilities that are there in both products. But let's start with Copilot Studio. Copilot Studio is an end-to-end conversational AI platform for extending Copilots or building your own Copilot. You can use generative AI, large language models, and your own data. In the Power Platform, where Copilot Studio is part of, we have connectors. And connectors give the Power Platform the ability to communicate with APIs. In Copilot Studio, you have access to 1,500 plus publicly available connectors, which you can use to get data, for instance, from backends, or to act upon the data that you have. And when that's not enough, so when you have 1,500 plus connectors and your service is not in there, you can still build a custom connector for that API as well. Copilot Studio is the only place in the Microsoft landscape where you can extend the first-party Copilots. So that's a really unique feature of it. As an example there, you can, for instance, connect non-Microsoft systems as Salesforce and ServiceNow, and you can connect those to Copilot for Microsoft 365 via Copilot Studio. And that's just one of the options, because of course we have multiple Copilots here, and Copilot for Microsoft 365 is just one of them. You can also extend Copilot Studio with Azure. So you can, for instance, use API requests to talk to the Azure services that are out there, or you can use the integration with App Insights, for instance. And that's only one of the options that we have. Azure AI Studio is the platform to develop and deploy custom Copilots. Azure AI has a lot of choice in models, so you can use all kinds of models, and that's something really unique. You can use, for instance, the Azure OpenAI models, like, for instance, the GPT-4 family, Hugging Face, and Meta. But there are a lot more available, and Henk will show you some of them as well later in a demo. We also have prompt flow inside of Azure AI Studio, and this enables you to orchestrate APIs, data stores, and machine learning models. In the prompt flow editor, you can test, evaluate, and refine model behaviors. It also offers a code-first experience. So that's something that in Azure AI Studio is something that is really unique to that. Also, with Azure AI Studio, you are able to deliver safe, responsible, and compliant generative AI solutions, and to build and operationalize quickly with a unified platform. So enough talk already. Henk.
Thank you. Yes, let me show you the scenario, what we're going to build. So to show you the capabilities of Azure AI Studio and Copilot Studio, we are going to build two Copilots to assist the customer and the employee for the Contoso outdoor company. To build these assistants, we're going to use a mix of Azure AI Studio and Copilot Studio, and our hope is that at the end of the presentation, we have a few takeaways on when to use which product, and find out that in many cases, they're better when used together. So we've created a website for Contoso Outdoor in the open source CMS Umbraco and use the Contoso Outdoor dataset. These small datasets consist of outdoor products like tents, sleeping bags, and chairs. And our customers can order products and log in to view their orders. We're going to extend the website with a completely custom-built assistant for our customers. And we gave this assistant 3 powers: to do a visual search in the product catalog, to ask questions about products and the store, and to ask questions about orders that they made. We're also going to build an assistant for the employees to handle the orders. And we gave that assistant also 3 powers: to be easy accessible via Teams, can be able to retrieve order information from the website, and act on data via connectors. We will start with building the customer assistant user Azure AI Studio. So to enable the 3 different powers of this assistant, we need access to the latest and greatest models like GPT-4 Turbo with Vision, open source models to create multi-model embeddings, and production-ready deployment and testing capabilities, and of course, state-of-the-art safety systems. And Azure AI Studio is the place to find all these features. But it all starts with having good quality data in the right format so that it is easy retrievable to serve to our large language models. And for our web shop, we manage various data formats, including images, text, audio, video. And this data is also stored across multiple fields to streamline access and usability. We plan to store these documents in a database. And this will allow us to serve the data in the correct format, enabling the large language model to access the right data at the right time in the right format. And in Azure, we have Azure AI Search to help you serving the right data to answer the customer's question. Or in other words, to ground your model with the right data. And at the heart of retrieving the right data is vector search and using vectors for data representation. So vectors are mathematical representations that allow systems to easily compare data for relevance and similarity. And the concept involves training a model in a high-dimensional vector space in such a way that words or phrases with similar meanings are positioned closely together. And if we have a system like this, we then can encode elements like words, sentences, images, and audio clips. And once they are all represented in that vector space, you can then define similarity by identifying vectors that are close together. So in essence, finding closely positioned vectors means that you have found elements that are similar. And to create those embeddings, we need one of those models that can create those vectors in that high-dimensional vector space. And the question is, which model? So AI Studio can be a great assistance here in several ways. Firstly, it offers a model catalog where you can easily find various types of models by filtering down on the tasks. Secondly, you can deploy these models from the model catalog as pay-as-you-go, where you only pay for the tokens that you consume. Or you can choose to deploy it in a virtual machine where you have all the control over the virtual machine size and how many replicas you want. So we are going to use 𝗬𝗫, a model from OpenAI that can encode semantic similarities in images and text in the same vector space. And this model is available in a model catalog and can be deployed in a virtual machine of your choice. Okay, enough talking. Let me go to Azure AI Studio. So here we are in Azure AI Studio in the model catalog. I can click on a model like GPT-4, and I have some options on how to deploy these models. I click on deploy, and I can select what I want to do. Well, I have already deployed our 𝗬𝗫 model. Oh, there we are. I already deployed our 𝗬𝗫 model, and I can find it back under deployments. Here it is loading, and here I find my deployed OpenAI 𝗬𝗫 model back. I have the options for a quick test. So let me add some data here and see if this model is actually working. Here we go. We're just going to encode hello world in this multidimensional vector space. And bam, here we have our text features. And basically, that is a big list of floats. So now that we have our deployment, let's talk about how we're actually going to encode our data and get it into the database. So our website is built in 𝗬𝗲𝗀, and every time when I save a document in the 𝗬𝗲𝗀 content management system, I am creating a vector from the images and from the content, storing that into a document, and then finally pushing that document to the Azure AI Search Index. And we can look at that Azure AI Search Index, and here we see all the products from our Contoso website represented with content vectors and image vectors. So let's take that database for a little bit for a spin. And I've created a small Jupyter notebook here where we can kind of do searches in that vector space using Azure AI Search. So here I have my test image, and what I'm going to search for is I want to find a similar tent like it is on this image. So what I'm doing here in this code is I'm linking to the image, I'm coding the image to base 64, send it for vectorization to my 𝗬𝗫 endpoint, then I'm building the vector query, I'm searching in the database, I'm returning these fields, title, content, image, URL, and document, and then finally I'm displaying the result. So let's search that, and within a few seconds, we should see that it has found a similar yellow tent. But because this is a multidimensional vector embedding model, we can also search, for instance, for a green tent in text. So if I run that, it searches and it will return me a green text. So now I have a model that can kind of search with text and images in that same vector space, and that is really cool. So, but how now do we connect this search, this raw data, to our large language models without building this complete solution first? So what I can quickly do is I can go to my chat playground in Azure AI Studio, and I can click on Add Your Own Data. I will select today, what will we select? We will select GPT-4 model. We will select GPT, this one, and I can select my index here, what we just saw. It is connecting, it is loading my data. I can quickly choose which search I want to use, and I can type a question. I'm looking for a tent for 4 people, give me the best match place. So now what it is doing, it is doing a vector search in my Azure AI Search Index, adding that to the prompt, and here it is giving us the recommendation. So based on the information that we have retrieved, the Trailmeister X4 is the best tent, and it is giving a reference to the document where it has found it. So let's go back to the slides. So in this demo, you've seen that you can use Azure AI Studio to quickly find and deploy the model of your choice, use Azure AI Search for vector search, and Azure AI Studio for quickly prototyping with your own data in the playground. And with this last demo, you've seen the RAG pattern at work. And what the RAG pattern does is adding the retrieved documents to the system prompt, enabling the large language model to use that knowledge into the conversation with the user. So RAG stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation. And when the user question comes in, we retrieve the data from our data source, We augment the prompt with the search results and then generate the response by querying the model. And you might have noticed that it is starting to look like a flow, consisting of all different kinds of steps and actions. And to handle this type of flows of dynamic creations of your prompt, we need an orchestrator. And in Azure AI Studio, there is PromptFlow, our tool for prompt orchestration, for evaluation, and for prompt engineering. PromptFlow is a development tool that assists you throughout the entire development lifecycle of your AI applications, from experimentation to deploying your large language model in production. So let's take a quick look at PromptFlow that powers our customer assistant. So here, first, we will start with our assistant. And let's ask it a few questions to see if it is actually working. So what we will ask is, show me the details of my last order. I'll click Submit. It will load the data, and it comes back with, hey, this is in your last order. It links to all my products on the website and to the order details, and it summarizes the amount. So let's ask if this order is already shipped. And we'll come back, and it's not yet shipped. And the first order and the second order also have the status new. So now, what I would like to know, what is my warranty information from that product that I've ordered last? So I can just ask, show me the warranty information for the tent. We load it, and here we go. It is found it in this vector database, all the information about the warranty, found the right document, and it is showing me the warranty information for the tent that I've last ordered without me actually typing the name of the tent. How did I build that? For that I used PromptFlow. And here you can see my PromptFlow. So PromptFlow consists of all steps, and you can basically see it as we have input, goes into one step, and it generates output. We have predefined steps that can connect to databases, but most of it run Python. So what we do here, we come in, we check if there is an image for the visual search, yes or no. We modify the query. So what we do is we kind of rephrase the question based on all the history and all the conversation, so we have a better search query for our vector search. We detect the intent of the question. Is it about product information, order information, or is someone just wanting a chat? If someone just wants to chat, we send back a very static response like, hello, I'm the Contoso outdoor product, so we only can talk about what we want. If there is a product question, we create the text embedding, we do the vector search, and we give that information to the model. And finally, it returns it here. And the good thing is, as input for PromptFlow, you can give additional context. So because you are logged into the system, when you're calling the assistants about the order information, we have the customer ID. And in the step when we load PromptFlow, we give that customer ID, and then we call the API with that customer ID to retrieve all the information. And that can be done in this Python step. So safety is also super important when we're creating this large language solution. And in Azure AI Studio, we can create content filters. So here I've created one. We can click on it, and we can set all these kind of levels for violent content, hateful content, self-harm content, and we can adjust that with the sliders and attach that to a model deployment. But as you see here, it takes a while for our flow to reach the actual model. We have done a vector search maybe and so on. So what we can do is we can go to this assistant, and we can ask some questions. So if PromptFlow just reaches the model, it will throw a 500. So if I would ask here the question, I'm looking for an axe to cut wood for the campfire. We are a company that is selling axes. So it should return us with an axe that is suitable to cut wood for the campfire. But if we change the context of that message, like I'm looking for an axe to cut a person for the campfire, we would hope that our web shop would not recommend an X for that. And it actually now crashes. You see here that it is giving a 500 because it reaches at the model level, the model thrown an error, and a content filter went in there. So it says something went wrong. So I've adjusted my flow here with Azure AI Content Safety. So what I've done is, when it hits the flow, I'm quickly checking for a recommendation from our system. So here we have our safety system. We ask for a recommendation, and if the recommendation is this is not safe, we are going to return a static result saying, your prompt is flagged, please be nice. So now I have this new prompt flow. How do I get it very quickly into production? So what I can do is, I can deploy this prompt flow again. So here we have the capability of deploying it. We can deploy it to an existing endpoint. That is my Contoso outdoor chat endpoint. I can choose my virtual machine size and my instance count, and then I can deploy it. I've already done that because it takes a few minutes to do that. So I can find these 2 deployments back. So I can click on Contoso chat here. I can update quickly the traffic, switch that to the new endpoint, click on update. We have to wait a few seconds for all the traffic in Azure to understand what I want. I click refresh a few more times. Traffic is routed 100%. So if I'm clearing the chat here, and I would ask it again, I'm looking for an X to cut a person for the campfire. It says now, sorry, your prompt is flagged. Please be nice. So let's go back to the slides. So Azure AI Studio is the place where innovators can create the future. It offers flexibility in models like OpenAI, open source, state-of-the-art prompt engineering, including all the tools you need to deliver a safe experience for your customer. And it runs LLM production workloads, scalable with state-of-the-art monitoring solutions. I hope you have a good idea what Azure AI Studio can do. Daniel, let's show us what the employee assistant can do.
Yes. So now that we have the customer assistant, which can receive orders and list them for the customers, we also want to know what happens next, right? So an order is already placed by a customer, and then an employee needs to do something. We need to fulfill the order. So that's what we're going to do with the employee assistant. We are going to have a couple of capabilities. We are going to have a Copilot deployed in Microsoft Teams for easy access, so that they can find the Copilot where they are already working. They also need to have access to the order information. So they need to be able to retrieve the orders that are currently new. They need to be able to change that as well. So they need to have the ability to act upon the data and update the orders, so that whenever they are handling an order and they are processing that, they need to be able to change that. And then when it's shipped, they can change that again, for instance. We are using Copilot Studio for the employee assistant. And that's really the place to build your own Copilot or extend an existing Copilot. I didn't do nothing. So Copilot Studio provides a really nice life cycle for building a Copilot. You can simply create your Copilot at the top. Then you can add knowledge to it. So you can, for instance, point at websites, public websites, or SharePoint. Then you can also supplement that knowledge with complex, like different conversations that you can have, so step-by-step topics. And you can, of course, also add actions and plugins to your Copilot to connect it to your backend, because you can also connect it to all kinds of different data sources. Then, of course, you can publish it to your channels that you want. So you can, for instance, publish it to Teams if you want to. And then when you have published it, you want to know how your Copilot is working. Is it doing the right things? Are people finding the right content? Are they finding the right actions, for instance? And that's what you can see with the monitoring. And then you can also, if you want to, you can even extend with Azure, like I said earlier. So Copilot has really great dialogue management. You can easily manage the dialogue. You can point to other different topics, etc. It's a really nice way to manage the conversation that you're having with your customer. We also have a feature in Copilot Studio called dynamic chaining, and that's something that's really special because we used to have all kinds of topics with trigger phrases, so you needed to list all the different phrases that the Copilot would trigger a topic on. But now you can just use a description of your topic, and then it will trigger that automatically when it gets the same kind of input from the user. So that's a really nice feature that you can have as well. We also have generative actions, and that's also a feature I'm going to show in a little bit, and that will give you the option to easily connect to all the data sources that we have in the Power Platform with the connectors. And what you can do with that is also you can create those generative actions on top of those connector actions, and it will be able to get all the inputs from the user message, and it will be able to also get all the outputs out of the connector action, and then generate an AI message for it, for instance. So it will do a lot of generative AI features on that. But I have been talking a lot, so let's go to a demo to show you really what it's all about. Now it should work. It's not working. Oh man. Why is it not working? There we go. It should work now. Yes. Okay. So I am currently in Teams already, and I already deployed the Copilot to Teams so that I can show you what the Copilot can do. I already said hello to the Copilot, and the Copilot already greets me, and it also gives me a couple of quick reply options. So what I can do now is I can, for instance, ask, what can you do? And the Copilot will start figuring out which kind of topic we need for that, and it will respond with a bunch of options that I have to work with the Copilot. So I can ask about orders that are new, processing, or shipped. I can ask about an order to ask about the order ID and then get all the details of that, and I can change the status of the order. So let's start with get orders with status new. And this really shows with the quick replies that you just saw, it really shows how you can guide a user to go to certain parts of the Copilot. And I really like that in here. So now we have received a card with all the orders that have a status new. But I want to know more about one of the orders. So let me paste the get order with ID 1085. And let's see if this will also get the data. So this usually takes a couple seconds, and here we go. We already have the data, and it shows a really nice card with all the date, the total, the status, and also some customer details, where you have a guy called Henk, I don't know, but he's there. And you can also see all the products that are part of this order. So that's really nice, but I also want to update this because I am the employee now that wants to order pick this order. So let's go and change the order with ID 1085 to status processing. So when I do that, it will trigger again the Copilot, and all these steps are actually triggering one of those generative actions, and I'll show you right away about how you can do that. But in this case, I am asking about changing a status. And I think it's really nice to kind of have a confirmation in between when you are changing something, because before I was only getting certain things, and now I'm also changing something. So I want to change this, so let me enter yes, because I want to change it. And then it will perform the action. So here it says now order with order ID 1085 has been updated to status processing. So let's check that as well and see if we can do that. So, oh, pardon me, processing. And now it should also get the data from there, and it changed from new to processing. So let's talk a little bit about the solution, how you can build this. The first thing, and that's the most important thing, is that I used a custom connector. And the custom connector is the one that I can use in all of the Power Platform. So I can not only use it in Copilot Studio, but I can also use it in Power Automate, Power Apps, and the other parts of the Power Platform. And what we have here, we have multiple actions in here. And those are the actions that call my API, the API of the website that we had just now in the demo from Henk. So what we have here is get orders, update order status, and get order. And those are the three actions that I'm using within my Copilot. So let's go to Copilot Studio. Here is the website of Copilot Studio. This is the home page. You can already start creating your Copilot here or extending one of the out-of-the-box Copilots. But I already have a Copilot ready that we just showed. So let's grab that one, and I'm going to show you the actions, because those are the parts that we were doing just now with all those questions I asked the Copilot. And when you go to actions in your Copilot, you can click on the button Add an Action. And this really shows the power of Copilot Studio with all those connectors, because here we have a whole lot of connectors. So I can look, for instance, for Azure. And it should search for all kinds of Azure things. So what you can see here is you can see Azure DevOps, you can have Azure VMs, etc. There's a whole lot of things in there. But also, and let me show that as well, there should be also my order management connector, and that's the connector that I just used in the Copilot. And here we have those three actions that I just showed. So you have the get orders, get order, and the update order status. If I want to add this, I can just click on get orders, for instance, and then it will give me the option to configure this action. And here it connects to the API for me. What you can see here as well is the end user authentication. You can select here how you want to authenticate this action. In this case, I used Copilot Author authentication, so I used an API key that was using the authentication here. But you can also use user authentication, and that's really handy when, for instance, you have an action that needs to send an email, for instance, on behalf of the user that is using the Copilot. So those kinds of examples are also possible. And yeah, you kind of have a, oh, I'm not seeing the button anymore, but at the bottom you can go through like a little wizard. And also, you have the option here to, for instance, ask the user before running this action. And that is the one that I showed you with the change the order status. When I hit next, I can select inputs, and I can show those as well. But in this case, I use the get orders, and the orders are we get them from the API by status. So we always have to give a status, so new, processing, or shipped. And we also, of course, have outputs, and that's what we also get. But let me click on Edit Outputs, because I want to show you a little bit more there. Because with the output, as I said, you can let generative AI dynamically generate a message based on the outputs, and that's what's currently here. But we also have other options. We have, for instance, you create a message, or you can create an adaptive card. So you can have more structure there. And what you saw in my example that I just gave in Teams is that I mostly used the cards so that you can have like images and all kinds of beautiful design that you want there. I'm going to switch quickly to the Copilot that I already built before, and I'm going to show you one of the examples that I already built. And let me go to the outputs. And I want to show you and emphasize one thing, because I talked about the adaptive cards already. You have the flexibility of using an adaptive card, and an adaptive card is basically a JSON kind of type that you can design all the way. And here you can really see that I have an image at the top, and that's the image of the Contoso Outdoor. You can see that I had the order management in there. And what's really cool about this kind of feature is that you can also combine this with the formula language in the Power Platform called PowerFX. And you can use that to, for instance, have conditions or have loops, or you can format your data, for instance. So here I have an if count rows topic output orders is higher than 0, then show this. And at the bottom, I have a fallback where you can see no orders found with that status. So you can also create all kinds of conditions here. And one of the other things is that you can, for instance, format the amount with a $sign in front of it and a certain format if you want to. Another thing I want to show you is the channels, because when you want to publish your Copilot and you want to publish it to teams, out of the box, when you create a new Copilot, the default behavior is that it will authenticate with Teams already. And when you want to deploy your Copilot to Teams, you can just go to Channels and then click on Microsoft Teams. And then you'll have a button, Turn on Teams. And when you do that, it will start turning on Teams, and it will deploy an app for you. And that will make it possible for you to chat through with your Copilot through Teams. So that's, in short, what I wanted to show you. So here we go. The switching goes a little bit better this time.
Very well.
So yeah, you have seen in this demo how you can use Copilot Studio. And you can really use these functionalities that I showed for your benefit. And I hope I gave you a better view on how to use Copilot Studio.
Cool, but Daniel, can we do something cooler? We have now seen how to use both products to build one Copilot, but it would be really nice if we could combine them together. So do you have a suggestion?
Yeah, I think that when we would, for instance, change the order status and we change that to shipping or shipped, then we might want to send the customer an email. So why don't we do something with that?
Perfect. So I was hoping for that question.
We didn't prepare this at all.
No. So I made for you a prompt flow that can actually send those, send an email for you, or generate an email for you, because I'm not sending the email. So if you give me the order status, I will use GPT-4 to generate a nice looking email based on the order. I will give you Markdown and HTML so that you have kind of a choice in what you want to do. I will deploy it for you in an endpoint so that you will have a API key to call that and the inputs. So show me how you can do that.
Yeah, let's switch. Here we go. So how we can do that is we can, for instance, use HTTP requests to call your prompt flow. So how I actually built that already is that I created a topic, and that's one of those conversations that you can have. And in this topic, I am changing the order status, just like I already showed. But then when the condition the status is equal to shipped, then we're going to do something else. And I just showed you in the demo that we only changed it to processing, but when it's changing to shipped, we will also generate an email. And I have the redirect here to the topic called generate email. When I click on that, I can actually see here that we have an HTTP request to a URL from your prompt flow. And then I use the post method, of course, and in the edit box, if I open this up, I can show that I use the order ID here. And based on the order ID, I will get a response here. And then the last step is that I am gonna send an email. So let's show that quickly, and let me change it to shipped and send it.
Perfect. Is it going to send an email now, or going to ask for confirmation again?
Are you sure you want to update the status of the order to ship? Yes.
Please.
Let's go. Oh, there's an error. Uh-oh. There's something wrong. Let's try it again, because it's still in preview, so let's hope it's working. Here we go. Oh, now everything is going wrong. Let me try it again. There we go. I am sure, so let's hope it's going. Another error. Oh man, this is a great example. So
while you try again, I can show you that the request is not hitting my endpoint here with the state-of-the-art monitoring we have in Azure AI Studio.
So let's check what the...
So you've seen that combining these two is a very good idea.
Let's try it again.
Let's try it one more time.
Yeah, and then we'll skip. Yes. And another error.
Okay,
I don't know why.
Just show the email. Do you have an older email stored?
I have it on the slides.
Okay.
So let's do that.
Cool, so we will wrap up. Cool, so Azure AI Studio and Copilot Studio. So to answer your question, use the option that fits the scenario best. Combine them to get the best of both worlds. And here we have for you summarized. Copilot Studio has connectors, AI Studio has prompt flow. There's so many great things and capabilities in both tools. If you want to learn more, scan this QR code. It will bring you to the Azure platform at Build with all the resources, all the links, all the meet and greets we will have, and a lot of learning paths. So thank you all for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your day.